Hey everyone, back to you into today's video. It's JMA Friday today, so we're having a look at weather for the coming month across the British Isles. It takes us into the second half of July, so we're going into the second half of summer, can you believe, with this update. It doesn't seem like summer's really started yet, but we do go just about into the second half of it with today's update. We'll have a look at the Japanese model, also have a look at the CFS V2 as well. You can find a link to both CFS and the JMA on the links page, by the way. So a bit of a longer range look ahead today. Now, before I get on with that, just to say about the ads, there's links to articles on all of the pages at gasweb.com. If you could have a browser widget, you're helping to page websites and click through any of the articles that you're interested in. There's also video ads on most pages that open out within the content when you watch them. They'll close back up again. Thanks so much for getting involved. Thanks for doing that. The latest Glastonbury update, the fourth Glastonbury update, will be on the events page this evening. So do come back for that this evening, around 7 o'clock, if you want to know what could be going on for Glastonbury, which is just a week away now. It'll be day one of the Glastonbury Festival, a week today. So beginning to come into the reliable, or semi-reliable time frame anyway, of the GFS model. So tune in this evening for that. Right, let's get on with the update for the next month. And we're starting off with the 500 millibar height anomaly charts from the Japanese model. These are broken down into weekly periods. As you know, 500 millibar heights, blue is extrapolating to low pressure, and orange, yellow, red always extrapolates to high pressure. So the coming anomaly takes us from the 19th to the 26th of June, the week that we're currently in. What we see is a ridge of above average heights, high pressure up across Greenland and Iceland, with a trough somewhere around the British Isles and to the east of the country, also in the east of America. So the jet stream here is going a little bit like that. Generally on the cool side of jet bearing, we are rather unsettled, but it's quite an unsettled looking chart. So it's not going to be great conditions, to say the least. It will be rather cool and probably rather unsettled as well through the course of the coming week. Certainly showery. I'm not sure it would be particularly a washout of a week, but certainly showery conditions. Rather cool temperatures likely as well. As we move through to the next week period, this one takes us from the 26th of June through to the 3rd of July, so into the new month. We can see that, again, above average heights being signalled to be up around Greenland and Iceland. That's never a particularly good sign in summer, but we also get a bit of a ridge developing around Scandinavia. That could be a little bit of an improvement for eastern parts of the country. And then we've got trough of low pressure in the Atlantic, and that sort of extends down into a western part of the Mediterranean, quite unusual for this time of the year. So again, the jet stream with that rather odd, but I think it's probably going something like that. So it's probably still relatively unsettled, although this ridge up to the northeast could be sort of turning things a little bit drier. And the flow perhaps going a little bit more sort of easterly, southeasterly with that for the start of July. It's a rather odd one, I must admit, that pressure anomaly. But if anything, it could be turning a little bit warmer and probably still a bit on the unsettled side, to be honest. And then the final 2 week period, this takes us well into July. We go from the 3rd through to the 17th of July with this one. And the trough is just sitting there in around the country, really. So we've got a trough of low pressure up around Iceland, and also extends down into the UK. But it's going more normal, more typical, really. The flow is going back into the west. We've got high pressure in the central part of the Atlantic. So it's basically back to what we've had through the last few weeks, if anything, with the flow going westerly. And the most unsettled conditions are up to the north, the driest. Not necessarily completely dry, but the driest of the weather is down to the south, and the flow is becoming westerly once again. That could be relatively cool, especially for the north and west of the country. Let's see how the temperature and precipitation normally stack up with this. So we start off with week 1, the 19th to 26th of June. This is the mid-latitude view of things, and we can see the temperature and precipitation anomalies that go with this. So for the first week, of course, we've got the trough more or less in over the country and going up to the east and the northeast, where you can see it over there. The British Isles, by the way, is in the far top right-hand corner as you're looking at it over there, as we always are with these longer range anomaly charts. The temperature anomaly for the coming week is coming out significantly cooler than average in most blue colours once again, so a pretty cool week coming up. The rainfall anomaly with this one comes out near normal, maybe a little bit above across northern parts of the country, but it's generally around average rainfall, maybe even a little bit below down in the south. So, not a great week to be starting off with, of course. As we move through into the second weekly period, this one shows that, again, we've got rainfall coming out around average. Once again, maybe this time going a little bit above down in the south and a little bit below average up in the north. But again, no great deviation with rainfall, so not a particularly wet period coming up. And the temperature anomaly, it is still cooler than average, but not as cool as in the coming week. So we're still in most blue colours, so it's still a relatively cool week as we go through to the start of July, the 26th of June through to the 3rd of July. That's a rather odd 500 millibar height anomaly chart for that weekly period. It's pretty difficult to interpret, but the overall message is that it's still relatively cool, and the temperatures are relatively cool, and the rainfall is probably not deviating that far from average. Now, as we go through to the final 2 weekly period, and this is where we've got the trough more or less in across the country, we find that the temperature anomaly still coming out cooler than average. A really cool sort of signal here from the JMA for the coming month. No sign of anything particularly warm at all, so still cooler than average, going well into July with the temperature anomalies. And the rainfall anomaly is going up as well, so it's turning increasingly unsettled through that 2 weekly period from the 3rd to the 17th of July. The rainfall is lifting up into above average category, and with temperatures still cooler than average, obviously going to be a very disappointing July if that comes off. Again, this is a 500 millibar height anomaly that goes with that 2 week period, and the trough is more or less in there across the country. So a pretty dim update again from the Japanese bodies. It's been a consistent theme over the past several weeks. They've been going for this sort of cooler type weather, and we have been getting a fair amount of cool weather, has to be said. They've been performing quite well, I think, and it's not a great signal for July. Now, the CFSV2 500 millibar heights break down to week periods look like this. The first week period takes us from the 18th excuse me, through to the 24th of June. What we find is, again, got a ridge of high pressure out to west and southwest of the country, trough to the east. So this is more or less in agreement with what the JMA has shown for the coming week, above average heights around Greenland and Iceland. The flow going something like that, so on the cool side of a jet, and fairly unsettled, not a washout, but certainly showery conditions coming through. The next weekly period going from the 25th of June through to the 1st of July, this is when the JMA goes a little bit odd with the 500 millibar height, shows got low pressure in the Atlantic, a ridge down to the south and southwest. So this is more of a simple chart to interpret. Basically, we're just in a westerly flow there going across the country, and most unsettled conditions will be in the northwest, but driest, not necessarily completely dry weather, will be down in the south and the east. The next weekly period, going from the 2nd of July through to the 8th, shows a bit of a change here, and this is deviating from what the JMA is shown. What we get here is a ridge building just to the east of the country, and a trough is out in the Atlantic. So this is quite a significant change, actually. The flow with that one goes rather like that. So we go onto the warm side of the jet, and with a ridge of high pressure just to the east, we would be pulling up southerly southeasterly winds. So that could bring significantly warmer air for the start of July, not necessarily lasting all that long, but it would bring significantly warmer air across the country with the wind going into the south and the southeast. And then we go through to the last weekly period, going from the 9th to the 15th of July, and this one shows a change again. What we get is basically go back to the pattern that we've had on and off since May, with that ridge sitting out to the west of the country and the jet streams coming down like that around the ridge. So cooler air comes back in off the Atlantic. The high pressure keeps the most settled weather to the west of the country. There would be showers, particularly in the north, and certainly that is a cooler situation than the week before. The temperature anomalies stack up like this. The week from the 18th of June to the 24th shows that we've got cooler than average temperature anomalies, so in agreement with the JMA about that one, a significantly cool week coming up. The next weekly period, the final few days of June going into the start of July, shows the temperature anomaly still hovering close to being below normal, but perhaps not so much of a deviation, so beginning to recover a little bit with the temperatures through to the start of July. The next weekly period, this is when we perhaps have hints of a southerly setting up, probably only briefly, but the anomaly is, you probably can't really make it out, but the anomaly is going a little bit above average down across England and Wales. It's very slight, but I think we have got a little bit of orange appearing there. So maybe going a bit warmer through that first week of July. Again, probably doesn't last all that long, probably break down into thunderstorms. But yeah, it could be a little bit warmer through those opening days of July. And then from the 9th to the 15th of July, it's really back to cooler than average. Again, the anomaly is going back into the green colours. So I think we're going cooler than average once again. That high pressure repositioning just to the west and southwest, bringing the westerlies to northwesterlies back. The rainfall anomalies from the CFS-V2 show that coming week is going to be relatively dry, not a washout of a week by any means, so that's not too bad with rainfall. The general theme of this summer has been that it's been quite disappointing with the temperatures, quite cool, but rainfall hasn't been too bad. We've got a lot of dry weather, so it could be worse. It could be cold and wet. The next week, from the 25th of June through to the 1st of July, around average rainfall, so that probably is a bit of a wetter week coming through during that week, but not a desperately wet week at all. The next weekly period, this won't bring up that southerly to southeasterly. The rainfall anomaly there is average, so that is going from drier than average through the coming week to average rainfall from the week from the 2nd to the 8th of July. Now, what I think this is telling us is that whilst it's not a wet week, there is probably thunderstorms breaking down that southerly to southeasterly flow that could set up for a few days during early July. And then with high pressure back to the west of the country for the final weekly period from the 9th to the 15th of July, the rainfall anomaly, precipitation anomaly is going back towards, not totally there, but back towards drier than average. If you have a look at the city temperature graph forecast from the CFS-V2 from the website weatherweb.net, you find a link to weatherweb on the links page. You can see temperatures are going to be relatively disappointing, really, over the coming month or so. This takes us actually right up to the start of August here. We've got the 1st of August just there, and we start off over here with where we are right now, and we can see that yeah, the temperatures are very lowly at the moment, really disappointing. Then we get this big spike up just for a few days around the start of July, so this is the hints of those southerly southeasterly winds that could get going for the start of July. The temperatures are on the side of the graph here, and this is going up to around 26, 27 degrees. This is for Birmingham, by the way, not sure if I mentioned that. This is city graph forecast for Birmingham. So we do see temperatures lifting close to 80 Fahrenheit just for a few days in the opening week of July, but very, very quickly it cools off again. We get this big drop down as we go through the first week into the second week of July, a bit of a crash actually taking place with the temperatures then. And then overall they stay really quite disappointing for the rest of July. No sign of anything particularly exciting coming up after this period, where we just get a few days from around the 1st of July, say around the 4th or 5th, just a few days of hot weather, but overall temperatures for July looking quite disappointing. And the 500 millibar height anomalies for the next couple of months. This is how July's anomaly looks. Again, this is from weatherweb.net. And for July, we've got this ridge out to the west of the country, so the flow is going like that. Very much as we've had it through June, really. High pressure just to the west of the southwest. A trough probably somewhere to the east or the northeast. So fairly cool, changeable at times. Not a washout because that ridge to the west protects us to some degree. So not a washout of a July, but certainly pretty disappointing. But then August does show a change, and remember the temperature graph only went to the 1st of August. So this is what the anomaly for August shows. And we can see that the yellow colours have repositioned. They've gone as an anomaly to the east and the southeast of the country. So what that does is turns the flow rather like that. That could be significantly warmer, significantly drier for August. So we may be putting it off, but eventually we may get somewhat warmer summery type conditions later in the summer. It could be that we're pushing back the heat and the drier weather, although it's not been particularly wet anyway, but could push back the heat into the final month of summer. We are overdue. I've explained this in videos recently. We are overdue a hot August, actually. We've not had one since, 2004 was quite hot, but it was also very wet with lots of tropical storms coming in. Not had a really classic August since 2003, so probably overdue, and it'd be interesting to see how that one pans out. But coming back, that's all very speculative. Coming back to the next month, it looks like it's going to continue to be quite disappointing, really, with the temperatures generally on the coolest side. And there will be some rainfall coming through as well. So nothing particularly exciting, except we may get a bit of a brief warmer push up in the temperature for around the start of July, perhaps. It's the weekend forecast tomorrow, so come back for that. And tonight, of course, on the events page, we'll be doing the latest update for Glastonbury. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.